Okay, since no more pastime for karaoke, now I'm gonna do something like reading this. The question that I have is T at GPT. Can you give me more elaborate of this story and relevance reference regard with it? Like YouTube, the history of writing where the story began, extra history. https column double slash www.youtube.com/watch question mark b equals hyjlt underline space r g g e ww and t equal 115s. So answer, cool, that's really interesting video to dig into. Here's more elaborate discussion of the themes. The philosophical story you're talking about, open and close parenthesis, Socrates slash Plato might meet Theus and Tamus, close parenthesis, comma, why mothers, comma, plus relevance references. More on the story, Socrates writing and might meet of Theus and Tamus. While the YouTube video, The History of Writing, where the story began, extra history, is about the historical development of writing technology. It's very relevant to Socrates' critique because what Socrates via Plato does it philosophically reflect of what writing means for memory, wisdom, and human recognition or human cognition is how this line connect and what Socrates is really worried about. Key part of the myth from Plato's Phaedrus 1. Theus, the Egyptian god of invention. According to Socrates, the god Theus, sometimes equated with Egyptian deity Thoth, invented many arts, numbers, arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, games, and writing. Second dot, Thoth is very optimistic about writing. He presented it to King Tamus as extreme beneficial. He claimed writing is an elixir of memory and wisdom, meaning in his view, writing will help people remember and more and become wiser. Number 2. King Tamus critique. Tamus respond more cautiously. He suggests that Tukes as inventor may not be the best judge of whatever his invention is good for people who will use it. Second point, he argued that writing rather than improving memory will lead to forgetfulness. People will rely on the written character instead of internal memory. Point 2. Point 3. Tamus said that writing is not remedy, pharmacon for memory, but a tool of reminding. You have invented an elixir not of memory but of reminding. Point 4. He also warned that people will seem wise because they can read many things but may lack true wisdom. They'll have a superficial knowledge, not deep understanding. And the last point is, furthermore, written words are fixed and unresponsive, unlike people in a live conversation. Written text can defend itself, adapt, or answer question. Okay, number 3, philosophical implication. Memory of versus external memory. Socrates by Tamus is worried that writing externalized memory, what used to be inside our mind, gets stored on marks outside so people don't practice remembering internally. Illusion of wisdom. The written words can create an appearance of wisdom but not necessarily the reality. Wisdom through writing might become shallow. Audience context problem. Audience/context problem. A written text doesn't know who's reading it. It can tailor its message to different listener. Fourth point, Pharmakon, double-edged tool. Some scholars interpret pharmakon, the Greek word used not just as a medicine or remedy, but as poison too, meaning writing is ambiguous. It helps, but also has harmful side effect. And the last point is living discourse or static text. Socrates valued dialect, live spoken dialogue more than writing. He sees conversation as more alive, more capable of exploring truth. All right, next one is we go to relevance to the video and broader themes. The extra history video about the origin of writing is relevant because it shows how writing began as a technological innovation. Socrates' myth is a philosophical reflection on exactly what such a technology does to human culture, memory, and thought. Second is Socrates' story can be seen as an early technological critique. Even in ancient time, people worried that new form of media writing would change how we think and learn. Third one, this is very relevant today. Just like Socrates worried about writing, he worried about digital media, smartphone, the internet. He's concerned about memory, external reliance, and shallow knowledge echo strongly in a digital age. Fourth is the concept of external memory, psychology term, connect, will hear, will hear, well here. In modern time, we use tools, phones, computers, or to offload memory. And the last point is also the notion of pharmakon, both cure and poison, is used by many modern theorists, example, media theorists, to analyze how media technologies have fixed effect. They help but also change us in unintended ways. So, and then a scholarly reference / further reading. If you want to go deeper, here are some helpful references. Might and Writing in Plato's Theodrus, academic paper analyzing the myth and its meaning. Virtue, Writing versus Speaking, and the Quest for Self-Knowledge in Plato's Phaedrus. Explore how writing as a technology affects self-knowledge. Number 3, The Limit of Writing. Richard has a good thematic summary of this concern in Phaedrus. Number 4 is Socrates on the forgetfulness endangered by writing. Full text commentary of the myth from Phaedrus. And the last one is Literacy as Dialogue. Critical article about how Socrates thinks. Written text is like painting, it can't respond. It can respond, and then if you like, I can map. Okay, another question is how about related to this story, the story of https columns www.youtube.com/watch?b equals hyjlt space RGEWWNT is equal to 115S. And the answer here for her is a great question. Let me unpack how Socrates and / Plato's myth of Theus and Thamus about writing relates to the contrast with historical story about in an extra history video. The history of writing, where the story began. Then I'll point to some relevant sources and theme. So there is like a picture and direction to go to the YouTube, The History of Writing, where the story began, extra history, the book and the person writing it, and the YouTube. So this is how the Socrates / Plato connect the extra history video. Different types of origin. The extra history video trace the historical origin of writing, beginning in Sumer, with clay, tablet, pictogram, and eventually cuneiform. 2. By contrast, Plato, Socrates meets by Phaedrus in philosophical allegory, not a literal history account, but a story meant to provoke reflection about the effect of writing. In the myth, the god Tut, often identified with Egyptian god Thoth, bring writing and other art of King Thamus. The last one point is Thamus warned that writing may harm memory rather than help it. People will rely on a symbol instead of remembering internally. Number 2, historical realities in the extra history video. According to extra history, early writing in Sumer arose out of pragmatic need. Scribe in temples, storage warehouse used pictogram on clay tablet to record economic transaction inventories, etc. Over time, this pictogram became more abstract, more phonetic, sample sign presenting sound, not just object, and evolved into cuneiform. Clay tablets as a medium are significant. They preserve well, especially when baked, which is why we have so many examples from ancient Mesopotamia, Iraq. Number 3, philosophical tension, use versus misuse. The Socrates might raises a normative/ethical question about writing. It is good or bad for the soul, mind. Themus say writing gives appearance of wisdom but not true wisdom. Third point, the historical development from the video show writing as a powerful tool, a technology that enables new social complexity, record keeping, literature, administration, and transmitted idea, also generation. And the last point, their attention writing expand capacity. You can record lot, creating lasting archives, but the Socrates word might also written internal cognitive function like memory. Number 4, myth and real gods. First point, in myth, Tut is a worship tied to Egyptian tradition. Tut is a real Egyptian deity associated with writing, wisdom, and measurement. Second point, some scholars suggest Plato have drawn on real Egyptian philosophical or textual tradition when crafting the myth. And the last point is the myth, pharmacol metaphor, writing as both remedy and poison. It's powerful. Writing is a beneficial but has hidden costs. Okay, next one is why this comparison matter, relevance and insight. Technological critique. First point, Plato might in an early example of technological skepticism. Even in ancient time, people recognized that new media writing could reshape human cognition and social life. Second point, memory and knowledge. The myth forces us to external technology writing, now digital media, weaken internal mental capacities. Question mark. This is deeply relevant today in an age of digital memory, phone, cloud storage. Third point, cultural transmission. Historically, writing were revolutionary. It allowed for more complex society, record keeping, literature, and cross-generation communication. Extra history highlight that transformation. And number 4 point is philosophical warning. The myth isn't just nostalgic. It's warning us to be mindful of what we outsource to our technology and how that may change who we are. And the last point is legacy. The story of Tut and Tammuz has been influential in media theory, philosophy of technology, and even modern critique of digital culture. Then the next one is key reference of further reading. Pedros by Plato that were might that Tut and Tammuz is told. Second, scholarly discussion on Egyptian textual evidence that might have taught in Plato's Pedros. Explore how Plato may have been influenced by the real Egyptian text. Commentary on Socrates' worry about memory. Socrates on forgetfulness that comes with writing. Fourth, historical background, origin of writing. The Metropolitan Museum of Art has good essay on how Sumerian pictorial evolved. Last one is the technology and discuss. Geoffrey Rockwell work on dialogue versus written disclosure. Tie Socrates meet the broader question of communication tool. Okay, another question here is about digital technology. In old days, there's a question. In old days, all memory does not depend on writings, last book. Instead, the poem, song, all came from memory to recall, like children, kindergarten, song to recall all your references. Can you please, at jeepyT, give me more discussion on it? Absolutely, he answered. And this is beautiful direction to take the discussion. Let's go deeper in how memory works before writing, how humans use poetry, rhythm, song, and oral tradition to store enormous amount of knowledge, and why Socrates thought this oral would produce a different kind of mind. Number one, before writing, human memory was a cultural technology. Human memory was a cultural technology. Human memory. Long before written language, the human brain was the library. Everything law, genealogies, navigation, route, might, ritual, farming, practices, astronomy was passed down by oral memory. Writing was invented until around 3500 to 3000 BCE in Sumer. Before that, human culture survived for tens of thousands of years purely taught of oral technique. People weren't forgetful then. They developed extremely powerful memory capability because of their world required it. Number two, why poem, song, and rhythm were used for memory. Think of songs like kindergarten rhymes, ABC song, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Happy Birthday, nursery chants. These survive because rhythm, repetition, and melody make information stick to the mind. Ancient culture used the same technique to memorize far more complex things. Rhythm organizes information. Rhythm makes chalk easier to recall because of and pattern cue the next idea. Melody create emotional memory. Melody create emotional memory. A melody establishes verbal sequences. You can't not finish a familiar song. Rhythm lock in pattern. A steady beat helps listener remember sequence like walking, chanting, clapping. Repetition built on long-term memory. Repeated oral recitation strengthen neutral pathway. This is why oral culture produces long poem with a predictable rhythm. The structure is itself a memory system. Ancient example of massive oral memory. You might recognize this famous word, but originally they were not written. And the Iliad and the Odyssey, Homer epic totaling approximately 27,000 lines were memorized and depicted by Bard. Each performance was slightly different. The story lived in memory, not on the page. The Vedas, India, memorized word for words by specialized for over 3,000 years. Memorized word by words is something like Bertucci. The reciter used rhythm, pitch pattern, and breath cycle of mnemonic tools. Verbatim, words for words. African griot tradition. Griot memorized genealogies, history, and legal tradition across centuries using musical storytelling. Ingenious Australian songlines. Entire map of the land, river, mountain, waterholes encoded in song. Singing the songline equals navigating the territory. Norse Eddas and Sagas. Before down written down, Before being written down, they were preserved through alternative poetry and chanting. Therefore, memory was not just personal, it was social system. In oral society, people remember collectively. 2. Stories were repeated in groups. 3. Ritual and reinforced knowledge. 4. Elders stored genealogies. 5. Priests store rites. And then poets stored mites, craftsmen stored technique, farmers stored seasonal knowledge. Knowledge lived inside shared practice, not inside book. Is Socrates admired and feared losing? Number 5. Socrates concerned writing weakened internal memory. In the Pedrus Mite, King Thomas warned that written will implant forgetfulness the soul of learner. Why? Because it externalized memory. People start relying on written mark instead of mind internal discipline. In oral cultural memory, it is a learned skill. In a written culture, memory become optional. In written culture, memory become optional. Socrates feared that writing would change how people remember, how they think, how they gain wisdom, how they speak in dialogue, how tradition is passed down. We now know he was partly right. Number 6. Why oral memory creates different kind of intelligence. People praise in strong oral cultures develop exceptional verbal recall. Bard could recite hour-long stories without notes. formulaic, formulaic composition. Oral poets use repeated formula epic phrases to improve long story. Deep listening habit. Understand came from hearing, not seeing. Social participation. Knowledge was communal, not individual. Embodied memory, song, gesture, walking, rhythm, memory involved in the whole body. It is different from mind shaped by book or screen. 7. The transition of writing changed humanity. The moment writing appeared, something dramatic happened. Before living memory, oral, performative, flexible. After external memory, fixed, permanent, impersonal. Writing made possible. Cities, bureaucracy, science, large religion, laws, history, literature, mathematics. But it also ended an age where the human mind was trained to carry a whole culture inside it. Number 8. Related YouTube videos that connect oral tradition and memory writing. Here are some of the good one for deeper exploration. The history of writing, where the story began extra. You link great foundation. The origin of writing. Met Museum show the clay tablet pictorial and show how writing evolved. Walter Ong, orally and literature explain how oral culture think completely differently than literate ones. And then Homer and oral tradition, Ted's Ed. Break down how huge epic were memorized. And then Australian Aboriginals songlines, Aboriginals show how song encodes geography. The power oral storytelling, national geography, demonstrate ancient memory technique is still used today. If you want, I can explain further. Okay, and then that's it for the meantime. It's gonna be on this one. Adding to this information for very famous, even elite university using this poet slash subject of understanding the era of William Shakespeare, an English playwright and poet, study the subject of all day relying on memory to recite poem. Answer? Absolutely. Shakespeare is a perfect continuation of this topic because this world sit at the crossroad between oral culture and written culture. Even elite university today study Shakespeare not only for literature but to understand how the memory, performance, and oral tradition shape human thinking before modern schooling. Let's expand this clearly and powerfully. Okay, Shakespeare's era was still half oral, half written. We often imagine Shakespeare 1564 to 1666 as purely written literature figure, but in truth, his world still relied heavily on oral memory. First one, actor memorized entire play, sometimes in only days. Two, the audience understood stories through listening, not reading. Three, many people were semi-literate, so a performance carried culture. Four, theater were places of public memory like ancient Greek amphitheater. And the last one, poetry and drama used written pattern for easy memorization. Even though printing presses existed, the thinking style was still oral. Number two, Shakespeare wrote in a way that helped memory. His writing isn't just beautiful, it's engineered for human memory. It becomes more the same tradition we discussed earlier, Homer Vedas Griot. Lambic pentameter, heartbeat rhythm, the doom, the doom, the doom, the doom, the doom. This rhythm mirrors natural human speech and makes line easier to memorize. Actor could internalize lines quickly before the rhythm carries the word. Example, but soap but light through one wonder window breaks. You can feel the beat. structure itself trained memory. Oral performance was number three. Number three, oral performance was essential. Actor memorized everything. Before microphone, teleprompter, or script in hand, actor memorized thousands of lines. Two, play were performed many times a week. Three, script were often incomplete or handwritten. Four, the cue strip system gave each actor only their lines, plus cue words. 4. No rehearsal note, no printed books, no video recording. 5. Their memory had to be extraordinary. This is why university like Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard use Shakespearean acting exercise to train verbal intelligence, deep listening, emotional memory, vocal rhythm, improvisation, audience awareness, social awareness, right? Audience awareness. These are remnants of the oral brain. Number 4, elite university studies Shakespeare because they are not just studying the play, they are studying number 1, how memory shaped intelligence before modern writing. 2, how oral cultural things speak, argue, and teach. Number 3, how language pattern reveal a mental words very different from ours. 4. How rhythm and poetry encode knowledge. 5. How performance substitute for books. A Shakespeare class is really the study of oral tradition, early writing, early printing, modern literacy. He is the bridge. Number 5. The oral memories tool Shakespeare used. His writing uses ancient mnemonics tool, repetition, words and ideas recurred so that audience lock in the meaning. Parallel structure, if the music be to be food of love, play on. Parallel structure are easier to memorize and recite. Antithesis, to be or not to be. Opposite creates memorable contrast. Rhyme, especially in the ending, helping actor and listener remember. Imagery and metaphor. Emotion like image stick to memory better than abstract info. Of this comes from pre-writing cultures where poetry equal memory technology. Number 6. Shakespeare is a part of huge memory tradition. He stands on the end of the chains. Oral Greek epics, Homer, medieval storytelling, Bardic memory tradition, church liturgy, memory through the rhythm, church liturgy, memory through rhythm. This is very famous on the every Sunday since estimated 1976 about the Our Father sumasalangit sa Our Father sumasalangit nawa ang Our Father who art in heaven sa aming sa ama namin sumasalangit ka and folk song and ballads early printed plays early printed plays and Farrell antithesis and then early printed plays. So when you study Shakespeare, you are really studying the last great moment before the world fully shifted from oral memory, written memory, printed memory to digital memory. 7. If you want related video or here recommended YouTube. Why Shakespeare sound musical, lambic pentameters explain how rhythmic support memory, how actor memorize line in Shakespeare time, 2. Strip, rhythm or performance, orality and literacy, the shift of human consciousness, how things change when written become dominant, Shakespeare and oral tradition, Oxford literature, deep academic exploration, how Shakespeare teaches to think, Harvard, modern cognitive lesson, the history from memorization before books, technique. If you like, I can continue with all of this direction. Music, story, performance in front of a live audience, This is exactly what Shakespeare actor did in the Globe Theatre 1599. And it's exactly what stage actor do at the Pantages Theatre today. The technology is the same, a living human body telling a story to other living humans. Watching a stage play in a 2026 is like time travel to Shakespeare era. Even though lights and microphones are modern, the core experience is unchanged. Real actors, real voices, real time emotion, audience reacting moment by moment, memorize lines spoken from memory, story delivered through performance, not screen, no retake, no editing, no CGI, a shared communal moment of human storytelling. This is the same technology that Shakespeare rely on whatever they have before. You when you sit in the Pantage chair in 2026, you participate in the tradition older than books, older than writing, older than Shakespeare, older than every modern media form. It's direct continuation of live storytelling as memory. When why Sound of Music is specially connected to old memory tradition. Musical theater is deeply rooted in song. These songs are written in a way that children and adults can remember forever, just like ancient Greek epics, medieval ballads, Shakespearean rhythm, nursery song, oral teaching before books existed. So yes, modern musical theater connect directly to the past. Number 4, stage actor today use many of the same skill as Shakespearean actors. Even in 2026, actor memorize huge amount of text. They rehearse physical, not just mentally. They perform live without mistake being erased. They use rhythm, breath, and vocal technique. They rely on audience's presence to complete the experience. This is exactly what the actor did in 1600. When you watch a live show, you witness the living descendant of Shakespearean art form, unchanged in its essence. Number 5. Why movies cannot replace this experience? Films is edited, polished, repeated, controlled. Stage acting is unpredictable, alive, organic, a shared moment happening only once, different each performance. Shakespearean's audience are also experienced performances that only existed once in history and then disappear forever. This is why experiencing a stage play feels magical. It is the last surviving form of ancient oral culture in a digital age. The Elizabeth Globe Theatre, one oral storytelling circle, early opera houses, this continually is astonishing. Continuity is astonishing. When you sit in the theater in May 2026, you are in a time machine that preserved humanity's oldest cultural technology live performances. Performance. If you want, I connect you to Socrates' spear about writing, the transition from oral to written cultures, why memories based on art, its and disappearance today, disappearing today. How Shakespearean invented structure specifically for oral memory, or a deeper philosophical easy trying everything together